Hi, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sorry we're a little bit late. As always, these days there's some technical difficulties, but I am here today with Donna Barker. I'm so excited to chat about everything that Donna offers and has going on. And so I think we'll just start right in on your creative journey and kind of what's led you to be do you call yourself a writing coach or a book coach or both, or
I call myself a writer. That's
okay.
really what I call myself. And everything else is kind of secondary to that. So, um, yeah, and it took me, and I will say, it took me a very long time before I was able to call myself a writer, even though my writing that's been my career, like since I graduated from university, which was a very long time ago. Back in the early, I can't even remember what year it was. Anyway, it was a very long time ago, and I've been writing, and then
It just means that you're very wise, Donna.
it means that I've got gray hair. Yeah, it's all good, but it's took me a long time to be able to own that. I was a ghostwriter, which made it a little easier not to claim being a writer, and I don't know why. It's just kind of scary. And then I became an author in the year I turned 50. So the year I had set this goal to be a published author by the time I turned 50, and I'd written 2 novels at that point, but fear had taken over. And so I was just sitting on the one that I knew was good enough to publish. And I did that 3 weeks before I turned 50. So 66, 2016 was that year. And since then I've published 2 more books, a novel and a nonfiction book, and the nonfiction book is related to the coaching I do. So, and that one's was published last year in 2019, and I've just published 2 days ago. No, yesterday, the 4th. No, 2 days ago.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations!
Yeah. Thank you.
I did not know that. You did not tell me that.
It's been a very soft launch. It's a quiet one because I'm writing under a pseudonym now, and which I'm public about. But it's a whole other kind of shimmy for me into writing romance. So I'm a nonfiction writer as Donna Barker. I'm a fiction writer as Danica Bloom, and I'm a coach, and that's part of why I have that pseudonym. I'm a coach, an accountability and motivation coach. So that's really where I focus. I help people who are struggling with confidence and struggling with that inner voice that tells them that their words aren't worthy, or they don't have anything that needs to be said or that other people will want to hear. But that's Donna Barker who does that. So I kind of have these 2 sides of me, which is kind of fun, which is a lot of fun, actually. Yeah.
There's so much to dig into there. I mean, I think it's really amazing. I mean, the work that you're doing is amazing. I think it's really beautiful what you're doing with helping people with accountability and motivation. That's definitely something that I love to do as well. I think it's so rewarding.
You're so good at it. You are so good at it. You are so good at it.
So are you, though. Thank you.
And it's great when you find people who have that. Like, you are such a great, you're a great motivator and keeping people engaged. And I did one of Sam's courses, the Artist's Way. So it was fabulous. You got me to read that book that has been on my bookshelf, and I've bought it and given away 3 times. And because I never got into it, and I finally, with your guidance, was able to go through it. And I still don't love it, but I got through it and I got stuff out of it, and it was a really valuable experience. So
you did so that. Much. But well, yes, but you do amazing things all the time too with people and helping them publish their books. I've met other women that you work with, and that have, are working on their memoirs and struggling with that internal feeling of feeling like, what I'm doing worth it? Is what I'm doing valuable? Is what I'm doing? I think that so many of us suffer with that feeling of not feeling like our story will mean anything to anyone. How do you help people with that?
Well, I've actually partnered. So I help people by working with 2 other women. So part of my journey was doing a course which I called Book on Fire, and running over 100 women, it turned out, through that program to help them kind of get to that first place where they were able to call themselves a writer and make that commitment to write their book and set some goals and deadlines. And in doing that, realized that there was a whole lot more that people get scared about even before they've written their book. And it comes down to, well, okay, so, and it's those voices like, once I write this book, then what? So why should I even bother? Because I don't understand the publishing process, right? I don't know how that works, and that can create a really big block. Or I think it's going to be really expensive because people say that editors are expensive and book covers are expensive if I decide to indie publish. So the way I help people personally is by working in community with 2 other authors who all tackle those sides. And the Creative Academy for Writers is a space that the 3 of us together created, and it's a pay what you can model. So we have over 750 members.
Wow.
And it's amazing. It's amazing. They're not all active, like we don't see their faces all the time, but like, for instance, I screwed up the time today because I'm on the West Coast and Sam's on the East Coast, and I did my math backwards, and she said, 10 a.m., no, whatever time it is, 1 p.m. your time, and I went 1 p.m. and added 3 hours instead of subtracting 3 hours. Wait, where was I going with this story? So there was a point to this story.
Well, it's okay.
Anyway, yes.
You were in a write-in. Is that what you were?
I was in a write-in. That's right. Yeah. Thank you. I was in this. So that's one of the ways that we help people is we do live on camera on Zoom, and we've been doing this for 2 years. If you want the motivation and you need that motivation to actually show up for your words and show up and write, we have 3 times a day scheduled writing sprints where, for instance, I do the 9 a.m. Pacific, which is noon your time. I lead that. And all that means is that at the top of the hour, whoever's there, we have a little chat so people have that connection to other writers, and we can spend 5 minutes just talking about how we're doing. And then we write in silence. We mute ourselves, and most people stay on camera, some people don't. And so you just kind of see that you're in this community of other people who've got their head down and they're writing. And it gives this great opportunity, my office door is over there, to, when people who have families who like to interrupt them because all they're doing is writing, if you can like point at your camera and show like I'm in a meeting, it's amazing how much easier it is to keep that door closed and for people to respect that you're doing something. So we do that, and then at the bottom of the hour, everyone checks in and we celebrate how many words they've written, how many pages they've edited. They might ask a question, and we do that 3 times a day.
That is so amazing. I mean, I know that you do a lot more than just that in the Creative Academy, but like that in itself is so extremely valuable. I was a part of a group last month that was doing write-ins. We had 4 write-ins. It was all on Tuesday. It was one at like 7 o'clock. My computer keeps muting me. But anyway, they were all throughout the day, and it was so powerful to be working in community like that, writing in community, because when people think about writing, they think about writing on their own. And getting that space to do it, the time to do it, and the permission to do it, exactly like what you were just saying with being on camera, and like it kind of gives it a little bit of that legitimacy and permission. It gives you that permission to take the time to get your work done.
Yeah.
And the like kind of the group, what do they call it? Social psychology of it too is like when you're like, I am done. I don't want to write a damn thing more. And like you look up and you see that like everyone else is still working, it kind of gives you that extra push to be like, okay, what's one more thing I can do? What's one more thing that I can push myself to do? And you end up getting so much. I've ended up getting so much more work done.
Yeah, and the other piece is like once you've established a little bit of a routine, people will notice if you're not there, and so they'll check in. It's like, hey, how come you weren't at writing sprint this morning? We missed you. And when you're missed, you're part of a community, and it really, really helps with feeling like you are a writer, right? So there's that whole piece of it too. It's there's small things. There's not things that when we started that writing sprint, it was like, right, who's going to show up at 7:30 in the morning to write on camera? But it was an idea that I had that has got legs, and that's just one of the things. Really briefly, motivation and accountability masterminds, I do those twice a week as well. So if you're a member of the Creative Academy, you can show up it's late for you folks, 7:30 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday nights, or 10 a.m. Thursday mornings. So that's 1 p.m. your time. But people show up for that. And again, it starts with a celebration, because one thing that we know writers do is we remember all of the times that we didn't sit down to write, and we remember all the crappy stuff, the negative talk, but we don't celebrate the little things like, man, I managed to write 500 words last week, and that was kick-ass for me. So we start every meeting with, everybody has to check in with one thing that they want us to celebrate that they accomplished with their writing. And it can be as small as, I'm just showing up today because my week was so crazy, but something. And then we spend 50 minutes troubleshooting whatever anybody brings to the room. And it could be around literally anything that's not tech. People will talk about from their own experience. And again, what that does is it allows people to see that everyone struggles with the same things, right? Maybe not at the same times, maybe not to the same degrees, but we are all experiencing similar things. Even people who are multi-published are experiencing the same kind of challenges and motivation that people who are just starting out do. And then we wrap up by setting an accountability goal, which is always framed in, it will bring me joy to do this, so that there isn't that weight of, like, I must accomplish, I should do something. No, it's, what will it bring me joy to get done this week that is accomplishable? And that's what we state. And then when we come back the next week, everyone's like, yeah, I did it, and we cheer for each other. Anyway,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of phrasing an accountability goal like that. And I think that makes so much sense. It's so wonderful to start your week that way, or like, you know, kind of mark your week that way, whether it's starting your week or marking your week, wherever you end up falling in the week. I think that is really amazing to phrase it that way, because it's so powerful. It's not just that you want to do it. It's not that you feel like you have to do it. It's that
exactly.
It brings you joy. It's something that's going to make your life better, and you're choosing it. It's something that you're choosing.
And it changes the whole mindset when you approach it. And that is something I will say, it is something that I came up with the group after running this group. We've been running that motivation and accountability mastermind for 2 years as well. And it was like, I don't know, 8 months into it, someone said, I'm not setting any more goals, because every time I set a goal, I have this weight of, well, I have to do this. And so for her, I was like, well, okay, then what would it bring you joy? And everyone was like, I want to talk about what brings me joy. And it was like, so that is now the way it's framed. It's amazing how that little twist of a word makes such a difference. And yeah.
Anyway. So I wasn't planning to talk about this yet, but I am starting to think about doing my own accountability mastermind kind of groups. I don't love using the word mastermind personally, but that's just like a personal preference. But like this idea of bringing people together for accountability, I think is really something that is missing, especially because I offer the book group communities, and we're so focused, especially right now with the book that we're working on, which is You Are a Badass at Making Money. It was very popular for people to sign up for this because money is such an issue, but we end up spending so much time talking about money. We're not connecting anymore as much about our projects. What we have, like, because we all are creatives and we have so many things going on in our lives, bringing people together for the purpose of just like hashing out what's going on with their projects and setting realistic goals for the week, I think would be really powerful. So that's not available yet. I'm still working on the logistics of it, but it is something. It would be more than just writers. It would be for anyone with sorry, the microphone is just not working again. But I love this idea of what brings you joy. I'm already working with one accountability group through a different program, but I think I'm going to bring it into the CLS community so that we have it here too. But if you are a writer, and actually I just want to tell you this, Donna, because I'm not sure that you've seen this, but Amy Strong is amazing. I told you a little bit about the group I was a part of last month through Stop Writing Alone, and she was a part of that group too, and she just joined the academy. So all of the links are available. So if anyone is interested in joining the Creative Academy for Writers, like Donna said, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's pay what you can,
which means that truly the majority of people right now aren't paying anything, and that's totally fine. There's no, we're not even keeping track because it doesn't matter. All we want to do is make sure that everyone has access to this community that will help them make it to that next stage in their own writing process. So it's a passion project for us, because we're all working writers, right? That's what we do, and it serves us as well, right?
Right. Yeah, that's really amazing. So, so if you're a writer and you want extra accountability and all the benefits of being a part of the Creative Academy for Writers, definitely check out the link. Donna is amazing, as you can already tell.
The whole community is amazing.
And I'm sure the whole community is amazing as well. So definitely check that out. And so, I mean, I guess I'd love to ask you a little bit more about your books, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the different books that you have out now, especially your new one.
Well, the new one is romance, and that is a genre that I never anticipated that I would ever write, because until 6 months ago, I wasn't a romance reader. I am a nonfiction reader, really. Like, that is where I go for my enjoyment, is I read creative nonfiction. Writing, and how I met Sam was through medium.com, and I spent about 6 months writing every single day creative nonfiction, and the focus of what I was writing tended to be sexuality and relationships, because I was working on my own nonfiction book about the unholy communion of sex, religion, and politics. So I was kind of writing my way into it being a book, and through that process, I realized that I could get my message across probably better by writing more fiction. And my first fiction book, it's here, always on my desk as my motivation. It's Mother Teresa's Advice for Jilted Lovers. It's social commentary, it's women's fiction, it's humor, but it is about that unholy communion between sex, religion, and politics, and women's empowerment.
I just have to say, Donna is hilarious. Her writing, she's a fantastic, amazing writer, and she is also so incredibly hilarious. So I have to admit, I've never read that book, but I've read a lot of Donna's articles, and if it's anything, I'm sure it's exactly like that. She has the best sense of humor. So if you are into that, definitely, I can't plug you and plug your writing.
Thank you.
No,
thank
for
you.
Real.
Anyway, so that book, and then writing on Medium with those topics, made me realize that romance readers, dominantly women, hearing messages about powerful women is what's really important to me. And what's the word? Like, taking the fear out of talking about sex. Like, here,
destigmatizing it.
There's my. Do you know what that is?
I do know what that is.
That's my golden clitoris, which sits on my desk as kind of like a totem, right? Like, we have to be able to talk about this kind of thing. And romance is a genre that allows us to talk about this kind of thing in a way that doesn't make us feel guilty or shame. And so I've written, and I live in a tiny town. I live in a village, and I was a volunteer firefighter for 5 years, and I'm married to a volunteer firefighter. So I wrote a firefighter romance. And it was just so much fun. It was so much fun. And now I'm working on the second book. I've decided that it's going to be a series of 6 books, because the firefighter, has 5 brothers, and no, they're not all firefighters, of course, but so it's the story of all these. It's the mixed 6-pack, of course, 6 really buff brothers. Anyway, yeah, I'm 54. I'm dreaming about the 30-year-old guys. All right, I'm going to write about them, because, I'm married to a 60-year-old.
It's fun, though. I love the way that you talk about it, because it just, like, it makes it feel fun. I know personally, I hate writing fiction. I can't stand it. I try. So a lot of the women that were a part of the group that I was a part of last month write fiction regularly. And I am a poet. I am not a fiction writer. And I was in this write-in with them. It was like a prompt party where we were all supposed to be writing on this prompt, and it was very, like, developed around story. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just try. I'm just going to try to actually write a story. I think what I wrote was, I came up with a character name, and then immediately, like, I wrote the character name, and I was like,
Oh, no, you're still muted. You're still muted. You wrote the character name and
I wrote the character name, and then immediately I was like, I hate him. I hate this. I don't want to write this story. This story sucks. And then I wrote a poem based on the prompt, but like it was not a story. So but I think it's so totally amazing when people find their passion and what feels good to them in writing or in whatever art or creative endeavor that they do, whatever feels good for them and brings them that kind of joy that like when I hear you talk about it, it brings me joy. Like it makes me feel good. Like, oh man, like I could do that. I could do something that makes me like, I want to find something that makes me that happy.
Well, you do. You've got poetry, right?
No. But I'm just saying, like,
fair.
I love poetry, but like, it makes me think of I'll say it this way: it makes me think of the things that bring me that kind of joy.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I love that. I love that feeling. I love being around that. So,
well, thank you. Well, I think that's really important, though. You've hit on something really important, which is starting to write. Like, for instance, I work with a lot of memoir writers, and people write memoir because they have something really important that they want to share. And also there's a whole lot of healing that goes along with writing memoir. And it's also really freaking hard, right? So there are points, even when writing a novel, even when writing silly fiction like I write, where it's hard, like where you get kind of lost in the story in the middle, and it's the joy is a little harder to find. But if you know that you've got that at the base of it, that you're having fun, and that fun is always kind of in the back of your mind, then it's a lot easier to come back to it. It doesn't feel like work. So,
have you read Big Magic?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, so you know about the shit sandwich.
I know about the shit. Well, I know about the shit sandwich from working from a career in. But yes,
right, yeah. No, but so for people that haven't read Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert is the author of Big Magic, and it's kind of what Donna was just talking about, which is like if you love something enough, you will take the bad with the good. Like you'll take all of the struggle with the ultimate result and the beauty of the process. You'll take the struggle with you'll take the tension with the like release, right? You'll take all of it. And so the shit sandwich is like, with writing, it can be the middle of writing your novel, or it can be submitting to publications and getting a million rejections, or submitting to get your book published and getting a million rejections. And like, you've got to, if you're unwilling, if you're unwilling to do all of those things, then like you don't get to be like, maybe writing is not your passion, like whatever.
Yeah. Or I'm just going to challenge you on that one thing. It's because it's a lot of the times I think it's not if you're unwilling, it's if when people don't know what the potential is or what comes next, that can stop. Like that's been our experience in the Creative Academy. In my experience coaching people, is there's a place where when you don't know where you are anymore and you don't know how to move from that place, that is paralyzing. And it's not that you're unwilling to move, you don't know what the heck to do next. So there is that piece. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, I'm just saying the other alternative to that is it's kind of you're blind and you need someone to help you see
definitely
where you could be going, how you can get out of the muck.
Definitely. I think it's so, whatever you're doing, I think it's really easy to get stuck. But with writing, I think it's particularly easy
because it's such a big project, right? Like it's not something you bash out in a couple of weeks usually. So
right. I mean, books can take years, decades, lifetimes to get through you sometimes.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if we've gone long, but like in that group that I did the beta program with the 100 writers, before I let anybody into the beta program, I actually surveyed everyone, and it was 204 people. And of those 204 people, and one of the questions I asked was how long you've been working on your book. And 35% of them had been working on their book for 50% had been working on their book for 10 years or longer. Wow. But that includes, 50% for 5 years or longer, 35% for 10 years or longer. Sorry, I'm being very confusing here. 35% had been working on for 10 years or longer, 50% for 5 years or longer. it's normal for that first book to take a really long time because of all kinds of things. So if you are someone who's been thinking about writing a book and you've made little fits and starts and you have scraps of paper here and there and it's been years and you're starting to question whether you're really meant to write a book because it's been so long, and I had that thought too. Well, if I was going to write a book, I would have done it by now. No, it's just part of that is fear. Part of that is not knowing where to go. That's why I set that milestone of my 50th birthday. It's like, I have these 2 books written, but I'm not an author because I haven't published these books yet. I'm a writer I'm an aspiring, I'm a wannabe, and that's okay, but I wanted to be more. I wanted to be a published author. So I had to use that milestone of 50 and just kick myself in the ass and make it happen. So
there's so much that I could have you back and we could talk about that, just like the publishing and how that works. But I'd love to just maybe.
You're muted again.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Off the top of your head, what's like one small piece of advice, maybe the most important piece of advice, whatever you think of off the top of your head, for someone who's in that stuck spot that like really wants to publish their first book? Like, what is something that you could think of that like.
Yeah, well, I mean, the obvious thing is believe that you can do it, and just know that you have to find the community who are going to be there to support you. Friends and family typically are not the best supports for us, for writers, probably for most creatives, but writing is my only creative outlet. So my advice is find the other people who get you, and then join them. And it could be in person where you are. It could be just that one friend that you can call, but you need every one of us needs that person or those people. And that's, join the Creative Academy for Writers. It's free. We've got nothing to lose. We haven't sent an email out to our members in, I can't even tell you how many months. We're not going to inundate you with messages. We will be sending one out soon though. But yeah, we're not gonna kill you with love, but we will love you with love if you join us.
Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. That's really awesome. So there's like a million questions I could ask you, and of course I'm gonna have to have you back again. But I want to end this so that people can watch the replay and get all the good information that we've already talked about here. But so the last question that I always ask is, what does it mean to you to live a creative life?
For me, it means having an outlet for my voice. So that's all, that is what it means. It means a creative life for me is just me being my most authentic self and having an outlet to be able to share that with other people.
And it's so good. It's so good. Everything that Donna does. I mean, you guys, I'm so glad that, Amy, you've signed up.
Yay, thank you, Amy. I look forward to seeing you. I will look for you. I will haunt you in the hallways.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, definitely. I just read, it was the funniest thing ever. Maybe Amy's read your book. It's possible that Amy's read your book. So we'll have to check up on that.
I will.
Maybe Amy will respond to her comment and we can see. But so I'll be monitoring the comments for this Facebook Live, and I will check up and tag Donna if she needs to. Hopefully she'll be willing to respond to.
I will, if I get tagged, absolutely.
All right. And then this will be available just in a couple of hours. Sorry, this will be available in just a couple of hours to YouTube. So that's
wow,
you can watch.
I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be on YouTube. YouTube star. I'll tell my son. I'm on YouTube. All right.
I love it. Thank you so much, Donna, for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Em, for thinking of me. It was really great to talk to you again.
Yeah,
really fun.
Thank you. All right, we will hold on. Get this. Thank you, guys.
Okay, bye.